Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about radicals. Alright, first we need to know the components of a radical and the notation. So if you see a notation that is written like this, n is the index, x is the radicand, and the entire thing is called radical, and a radical expression. So as an example, we can have square root of 3. Now, by convention, the first root, the index, that's also called the root. If it is 2, we don't write the 2, we just leave it blank. So just like that. That already means that by default, that's the second root of 3, or a square root. The way you read that as square root of 3. And basically what it means is that what number times by itself twice, because of it's a square, that will give you 3. Well, that number that you would think of, in this case, it's not a whole number, it is a decimal number, but that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Another example, let's do cube root of 8. That's another one. In this case, the 3 is the index, the root. This reads cube root of 8, and what it means is that what number times by itself 3 times. Now 3 times, this 3 is taken from these. That's what the 3 coming from. Okay, so what number times itself 3 times will give you 8. So we say the cube root of 8 is 2. All right, and in this case makes sense, we have that. And the example just continues, and we can just come up with many different examples. And another one will be the 7th root of x. X is a variable, and that's what it is. It reads as 7th root. Anything that is past 3 cube, we say we don't have any kind of a short form expression of it. We just say 7th root of x. That means what number times itself 7 times will give you that. Okay, and the next part to this is dealing with what happens if the index n is an even value or an odd value. So let's suppose, by the way, the even numbers, these are even numbers. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and you guys understand what I mean. And n, if n is odd, that's the 1, 3, 5, 7. So let's do a couple examples. Let's suppose I start off with the square root of 4. That's very straightforward. What number times itself twice will give you 4, and that number will be positive 2. So the answer to that will be 2. Okay? So, and it's important that the square root of 4 is not equal to 2 times 2. The square root of 4 is actually, so the proper way of writing it is this, and it is positive. Excellent. Now, how about square root of -4 or -4? That means what number times itself twice will give you -4. Well, you can see that the only way this is possible is that one of these two numbers must be negative, one of them must be positive, and that's not possible. And for this reason, for the context of this course, we say that there is no real solution to an expression that looks like the square root of -4. And in fact, every time n, so if n is even, then the radicand has to be a positive number for the radical to have a real solution. Now let's look at what happens if n is odd. So in this case, let's say cube root of 8. Well, that's easy. That tells me what number times itself 3 times will give me 8. Well, we can go through the options, but the answer to this will be 2. So cube root of 8 is 2. Let's try look at cube root of -8. That tells me what number times itself 3 times will give me -8. Now in this case, if we choose -2 for all of them, you notice that that actually makes sense, because -2 times -2 is +4, and +4 times -2, that will give me, that's a -2 here, so these two together will give me -8, and -8 is the final answer. So in this case, n being odd, that the radicand can be positive or negative, and we will have a solution. That means we can evaluate it, and that's the key to this. All right, now a few examples. Let's find out what is the square root of 25. What numbers times self is 25? That is 5. Great. What is cube root of, let's say, 27? Well, what times itself 3 times is 27? That's 3. Great. Now, sometimes the answer will not be straightforward. That means you have to use a calculator. What is the cube root of 9? Well, in this case, you have to use a calculator. You open up a calculator and you say 9 and cube root, and here it is. You get the 2.08. That is the answer to that, and you will put that on. All right, and then you write down 2.08 approximation with this little notation, and that would be it. Next one, what is, let's say, cube root or fifth root of 32, minus 32. Let's do that. Well, what number times itself 5 times will give you minus 32, and that is minus 2. All right, if you get another value, let's say the square root of 31.4, you will have to use a calculator and then get the answer for that one. So use a calculator. All right, so that's basically it. And try to go through all the questions that I put on the extension, and let's see how you will do. All right, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.